Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should always be connected to the land and people of Israel. Very happy to be back with the four of us this week, although we might have to reintroduce Rabbi Ari Abramowitz. First time, I believe, on this show that you haven't been in IDF uniform.
That's right. This is a fleece because I'm cold.
So this is our opportunity to say thank you for the service.
Yes.
That you've given to the state of Israel over the last year.
Many nights on guard duty.
That's true.
Well
I'm reacclimating to actually sleeping through an entire night. It's such a luxury. You know, it's like the story of the guy that goes to the rabbi. He's like, I can't, it's too crazy. 15 kids in my house. The rabbi says, bring in the goat, bring in the donkey, bring in the cow, bring in. And the guy's like, it's making it worse. He says, no, take him out. He's like, oh, it's so nice. That's my life right now. Like, I have a pillow that's so wonderful. It's so great. It realigns. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, you've been in for like 10 months, right? So this is a big deal.
Yeah, nearly a full year, over 11 months, yeah.
Well, so glad to have everyone with us, obviously with Joshua Waller, Jeremy Gimpel. It's been a little sporadic the last couple of months, so we're super happy to be here. And we were talking about what to talk about today. Obviously, so much going on in the Middle East here on the Israel Guys. We covered the UN vote that voted unanimously in the Security Council for the Gaza Hamas rebuilding plan, which is just horrendous. If you guys want to know about that, you can check it out on the Israel Guys channel. And a horrific terrorist attack down in y'all's neighborhood this week as well, which was also covered on the Israel Guys channel. But President Donald Trump seems to be courting a lot of Middle Eastern leaders and countries in the last couple of weeks. And the Abraham Accords are being floated around again, specifically with Saudi Arabia. And so we thought today we would get into this idea of what in the world is going on. The Abraham Accords were originally put forward and put together as basically a new axis of good guys in the Middle East, together with the United States, obviously U.S., Israel. We've had, I believe, more than 4 countries that have now joined. But now you have Saudi Arabia saying they want to join the Abraham Accords, but they're kind of cutting Israel out. So we're going to get into that. President Trump had Saudi Arabia, the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, at the White House this week. Last week he had the Syrian president at the White House, who's just a former terrorist at very best. I think
massive bounty on his head.
Too nice of thing to. Yeah, up until a few days before he visited the White House, the U.S. had a $10 million bounty on his head. So obviously they had to remove that before he could come visit, which is just kind of wild.
Nice guy, right? He's like,
and
Trump's
then,
he's nice.
Oh, Trump had a lot of nice things to say about him. And Trump also called the Turkish president Erdogan a great, quote, great leader. So Trump definitely courting some weird Middle Eastern alliances here. But so we want to get into it. The question is this the end of the Abraham Accords, or is this the beginning of something new? Phase 2, whatever that means. What do you think,
I think
Jeremy?
It's really interesting that either Trump or MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, they didn't actually say anything about the Abraham Accords publicly. Instead, Trump came out with an announcement saying Saudi Arabia is now a major non-NATO ally. That was the new definition. And it's like, well, that's interesting. So instead of the Abraham Accords, it's now saying like, all right, now we're kind of making a new axis with Europe and America. It's like cutting Israel out. And I think that's just very noteworthy because the Abraham Accords were established and the name Abraham is very significant. It's like bringing it all the way back to the core, to the heart of what this conflict in the Middle East is about. And as soon as we're talking about non-NATO allies, yes, NATO allies, it's like missing the point and will absolutely ultimately fall apart.
Yeah, so what is it with that? Is it even the Abraham Accord? Is it just the Ishmael Accords? What would that accord be? Well, if America is theoretically a part of it, well, I guess it would be Abraham because both Esau and Ishmael are descended from Abraham, but it's not exactly the Abraham Accords because his progeny, his legacy, clearly in the Torah and the Bible it states is through his son Isaac. And I wouldn't say that they're cutting us out. I would say we're cutting ourselves out. We have had opportunity again and again and again to assert ourselves, to declare sovereignty over not only over Judea and Samaria, our ancient heartland, land, but over all of Israel, over Gaza. Even in, Syria, there's this huge vacuum. We're like, no, we want to stay this small little ghetto. We don't want to step on anyone's toes. And the world we live in, especially in the Middle East, countries don't have friends. They have interests, and it's in everybody's interest to be friends with someone that is self-assured and confident and powerful. And if we really put our faith and our hearts and the knowledge of the justice and the truth of our cause in the hands of God, then we can move forward and be a real leader. But we've stepped back every opportunity we have. Again and again, we step back and we minimize ourselves, and then we're like, you're cutting us out. We cut ourselves out.
Well, it's not even about stepping back. It really is an outcome of Gaza. I mean, there was a time where President Trump gave us the green light on every level.
Yeah.
Unleash hell. We're going to deport all of the Gazans. We're going to rebuild Gaza El Largo. We had all of the opportunities, and here we had Gaza, that they attacked us first. They exposed their evil. We destroyed all of their infrastructure. Is there any better reason or timing than to actually remove them from the land and resettle Gaza? And then the world is looking at us and says, what are these Jews doing here in Israel? They're not resettling Gaza. They're not winning the war. Because what is winning the war? Winning the war is reclaiming Gaza and rebuilding it and declaring sovereignty over it. We didn't do that. And so the whole world now is saying, like, what's going on here with Israel? Why do we need these Abraham Accords with Israel? Let's just let them keep on fighting with the Hamas, because now they voted, and it's pretty much saying, we don't really need to disarm Gaza. Let's just rebuild Gaza and leave the Hamas there. And they'll just kind of leave Israel in an endless war, because a hostage that was just released now is saying that Hamas were talking constantly about the next October 7th. Mm-hmm. They're already planning their next attack on Israel. So from the outside, Qatar is giving Trump a $400 million jet. Saudi Arabia in this meeting has claimed, or at least pledged, to invest $1 trillion in the United States. And Israel is sort of still dealing with a ragtag terrorist organization that we don't know how to deal with. And people are saying, all right, let's just sideline those guys. They're not the winners. I want to be with the winners. I'm Trump. Let's make a deal. And instead, he's now moving to Saudi Arabia.
I have to say that I've always felt that a deep, foundational, subconscious reason for much of the hatred, I know this is going to be controversial, but much of the hatred of the nations against the state of Israel, against the Jewish people, is the fact that we are not rising to the occasion and being the light and the blessing that we're meant to be. And so they're resenting us for it because we're withholding that light. And ultimately, when we shine that light, I think that will empower everyone. I think not only will Saudi Arabia, because deep in Saudi Arabia's heart, they're rooting for us. They want to ally with Israel. They do. Since 2017 to 2022, their curriculum has undergone the largest reform in the history of Saudi Arabia, talking about the right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, talking about the ancient connections between, teaching about the Holocaust. Just really, they want it, but they're also in the Middle East. There's something to, Jeremy said, don't say this, but it's like a dog. Not that they're like dogs. I'm saying when it comes to a dog, you know this idea that even if the dog's owner is on the bottom struggling and someone else is on the top, I guess there's certain dogs where they're like, whoever's on top, I'm with him. And Saudi Arabia is like, who is flexing power? When did the initial Abraham Accords happen? When there was no daylight between America and Israel, when they were a strong, united front, then Saudi Arabia is like, we could get behind this. But once things are vacillating, once Jews are destroying their own communities in Judea, and we're trading thousands of terrorists and letting them go and waving a white flag in Gaza, Saudi Arabia is like, maybe they're not on top anymore. Maybe I have to start walking a fine line with Qatar and Iran.
Yeah, I'm not sure if but America and Israel, there was no light between us. I think it's more about there was no hope for a Palestinian state.
That's right.
We had squashed that idea. That was going to be put aside, never opened again. It was Judea and Samaria. I mean, there were literally laws that were being passed in the United States saying, we will not call it the West Bank anymore. We will only speak in the terms of Judea and Samaria. And so Saudi Arabia is like, all right, they're the winners. Let's align with them. And as soon as we gave hope, all of a sudden, terror has returned to Israel, instability. It's all about what will happen to Israel's heartland.
We'll be back with the rest of the podcast in just a second, but I do want to ask you guys, as we're nearing the end of the year, if you believe in the work and the mission of the Israel guys here in the land of Israel. I'd like to ask you to consider supporting our work, and you can do that through a really cool way. Not only are your donations tax deductible in the United States as a 501c3 nonprofit, but you can actually join our member program for any amount. You can choose how much you'd like to give as long as it's a monthly recurring support. And then you get to be a part of the really cool, amazing behind the scenes Israel Guys program. We have exclusive content that comes out every week. We have an awesome active Telegram group where we can interact with you guys, post videos, pictures, things like that. And you guys can actually comment and ask us questions. And our team is very active on that channel. If you're not on Telegram, we put out a monthly newsletter with everything from that month, all the videos we put out. We have a photo of the month. We have discounts from our store. We have a monthly prayer and prayer report and praise report from our work here in the land of Israel. And you guys get to hear from our team, boots on the ground, behind the scenes from the Israel Guys, from our volunteer work that we do with farmers in Judea and Samaria. It's a really awesome way for you guys to support the work that we're doing, which is totally free, by the way, and we rely on support like yours to keep us going. But it's also it's an amazing way to get back a lot of content and interaction and engagement from us and our team. It's a way for us to go deeper and really engage with you guys. So I encourage you to take a look at that. The link is in the description below. And if you want to support our work, this is one of the best ways that you can do it. Join the Israel Guys membership program today. Link is in the description below. Back to the podcast.
Well, I want to talk about this axis for a minute because I feel like we're really talking about this axis that was being formed that was really out of Jerusalem. And I believe that was the Abraham Accords in the beginning. We had this new axis that was forming, and Israel was going to be the lead player in this new axis, and America was joining that. And then the Abraham Accords was going to be, okay, we're expanding now, and we're going to bring in these Arab countries within an alignment with American interest and Jerusalem interest. But the Abraham Accords, obviously, Jerusalem was going to be the lead on this thing. And I feel like the Arab state, this new fangled Palestinian so-called movement that is creeped in, and this axis was broken. It's the distraction to this whole axis, because you can see every time, obviously Iranian interest is to have a proxy war against the Jews inside of Israel. And that's what we have. This whole Palestinian Arab movement here is an Iranian axis of fighting against the Jewish state, sponsored by the Qatari side as well, because the Qataris also have a major player. They're also very hostile to the Jewish people, hostile to the nation of Israel, in alignment with that Iranian idea of fight the Jews. Saudi Arabia this is a really interesting thing. And it's interesting what you say, Ari, about Saudi Arabia having good will toward the Jewish people. But they're playing an interesting game here. And I think there's an opportunity for a proper axis out of Jerusalem in alignment with Saudi Arabia. But what you see happening right now, and the distraction is that they're aligning. What do you see? We will join this axis as long as the Iranian and Qatari idea of an Arab Palestinian state formed in the heart of Israel. Why would your friend say that? Why would they be aligning with their worst enemies? The only reason why they wanted to join Israel was because of the threat of Iran against Saudi Arabia. The only reason why they're joining this axis is for their own survival in their really complicated neighborhood. So why are they joining the axis of evil against the state of Israel?
I think they're trying to figure out which way they want to go. If they say that to Israel and then Israel says, are you kidding me? You want us to set up a jihadist state in our God-given heartland? Never. Then Saudi Arabia's like, maybe we will ally with them.
Maybe you can be the leader of the region.
Maybe you can be. It's like a gauge. They're like testing. They're testing the waters to see what our response is.
I just think it's so interesting that the Gazans' homes, their infrastructure, because of the tunnels, because of all the complexities of Gaza, have been totally erased. There's never been a more urgent time to move them to another place, even temporarily, and there's not one country that's willing to accept them. Not an Arab country and no other country. And the question that needs to be asked is, why is there not one Arab country that's willing to accept the Gazans? And I think the answer is that it's not really about nations and countries. It really is a war between the Islamic world and the Jewish world, because the Islamic world is a replacement theology, meaning the Catholics say that they have replaced the Jews, and then the Muslims came and they said they've replaced the Catholics. They're now the new Israel. They're the new chosen people. And all of a sudden, there is this one nation that's in its chosen, promised land that's living, that's growing, that's thriving, that even amongst all of this, we just established a new village in Judea, in Gush Etzion last night. We continue to settle the land against all odds, and we are a thorn in the side of any replacement theology. But I feel like, why would the enemies of Israel help Israel out of its own quagmire?
I just want to sharpen that a little bit, because while I don't disagree with you, I think it needs to be zoomed in to be accurate. It's not against the Islamic world. I don't believe that that's the case. I've always tried to make a distinction in my mind between Ishmael, who is a regal and worthy, foe, and the Philistines and Amalek and the darker, more sinister, more disgusting forces in
Jihad.
The jihad.
That would be
so
more.
It's like the Shiites and the jihadists are on one side, and then there's Ishmael on the other. There's something to do there with Ishmael.
Sure.
There's a way that a reconciliation can really happen. We've already smelled it. We've tasted it. We've seen it. The Philistines, on the other hand, they are just marauders. They are savages, and they are like child sacrificing pagans. There's a big distinction that needs to be made, and when we lump them all together, it's not in anyone's interest.
Well, my only point was that it's important that we move away from politics and we go back to the source. Like what just happened last night at Park East Synagogue in Manhattan, one of the largest synagogues in Manhattan. The rabbi is a Holocaust survivor. There were hundreds of pro-Hamas protesters outside the synagogue saying death, death to the IDF. And it was like, well, the IDF, their war in Gaza is on a peace agreement right now. There's like a ceasefire. Like, what's going on? Why are they still protesting? Because it had nothing to do with Gaza. It had nothing to do with the Palestinians. It was always an anti-Jewish movement, and now it's all coming to surface.
Right after a Muslim mayor of New York was elected at that too.
And he hasn't even taken power yet.
Right. So
Wait
like
till he
50
takes
days,
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to throw this discussion out there, because this is a discussion that's not really happening, and it's important to happen because we've talked again and again about, Jeremiah 16:16, that God will first send the fishers to try to bring his people home. Most Jews that are going to respond to that are here, and then the hunters, and we've talked about that before. But now I'm hearing a lot of voices from America, the ones that you would think that we would identify with, that are saying, no, we got to fight. We got to stay here and we got to fight this fight. And I'm thinking, not every battlefield is ours. Not every fight is a fight that we're supposed to have. A Jewish fist needs to be attached to a Jewish head, a great rabbi once said. And, I think about the Ma'apilim after the spies went into the land of Israel and came back with this report, and Moses said, 40 years, right? Then they said the next morning they woke up and they said, we're going to go fight for the land. And Moses said, don't go up. God is not in your midst. This is not the fight to have. And what happened? They were destroyed. Every single one of them was killed. This happened again with the Zealots when they went out to fight, when Jerusalem was under siege, and they burned the storehouses, because it's not always God's battle. We have to fight God's fights and God's battle. And right now, God is waking the Jewish people up and saying, this is not your home. It's time to return to the land of Israel. Look how cosmic and unbelievably rapid the writing is on the wall, and they're turning against you. Come back to the land. It's not the time to say, let's stay here and fight. What say you guys?
Well, I'm just, you made me think actually what would happen if all the Jewish people of the world returned to the land of Israel. With this whole ideology of the world and this axis of evil, that it's really, if you pull it all the way down to its real substances, create another 22nd Arab state in the heart of Israel. Would that even be honestly, it's not even on the table in physical reality here. What if every one of the Jewish world that's outside of Israel came back? How much more so would this not even be a reality? The land would be so
well. The Jewish
full of its
population
people.
of Israel would be doubled.
Yeah,
immediately, which would also mean that places like Judea and Samaria would be settled really quickly because a lot of the new immigrants move out here because there's space. The housing is cheaper in some ways, right? And if you have, we're looking at 500,000 Jews in Judea and Samaria, if that doubled or tripled or quadrupled.
There's also, if there's any place where this conversation can go in this direction, it's here with us right now. And that is that there is a critical spiritual dimension to understand that is happening behind the scenes. That's the programming behind all of this. And because sometimes I hear people talk about the situation in such a removed, sober, dispassionate way where they don't talk about God or the unbelievable, absurd, irrational fulfillment of prophecies that should have never been prophesized, because they're so crazy to even say that there would be a nation that would survive for 2,000 years and then be gathered to the land of Israel, right? But this is all happening. And so when the Jews return to the land, and the more Jews that come, the more of God's presence is dwelling in the land. His presence returns with us to the land, and there is a national consciousness that is shifting, that when we return to the land, God will take from us as a nation a heart of stone and put within us as a nation a heart of flesh. He'll circumcise our hearts, will wake us up to who we are and what our identity is. And so this, when the nation of Israel returns, not only are those practical things you mentioned going to happen, but we will very much be shining a light of revolution. And why do I say revolution? You know this teaching, right? A minute hand has one revolution around the clock. It goes back to the beginning. You want to know what kind of light we would shine? See the first temple, that the entire world was illuminated by the light of this temple, and it's going to be even greater than that.
Do you think all the Jewish world outside of Israel has an idea of what's in their power right now? Because literally, I from all that I've learned here in Israel, the Jewish people just returning to the land, it's like the peace solution. Everybody's talking about their peace plans and all these things. Literally, the Jewish people could stop this world, the chaos of the world. It seems to me it'd be a deeper level, and it's shameful for me to even think about America falling prey to this terrible situation where Jews are not safe in America. But what's bigger than that? Bigger than that, it seems like there's something pushing the Jewish people of the world back to their God-given blessed land of Israel. And when a Jewish person fulfills that role of coming back to the land of Israel, the light that goes into the rest of the world from that, I just wonder if a Jewish person really was to see that. And I think the biggest question for maybe the whole Jewish world would be, but how do we know now's the time? It's been pretty rough. How do we know that now's the time? When you're talking to, and even for non-Jews, how do we know that now's the time to go and say, because the non-Jewish world, myself, we have also a role in the Bible that says we're supposed to help the Jewish people. We're supposed to carry them home on our shoulders. We're supposed to be like hey, do you need anything? I always tell Jewish people when I run into them in America, I literally just told the team yesterday, we had a big volunteer team here. I said, listen, you guys are all going back to all over the world. You all have Jewish friends and neighbors, and you go to the synagogues, and you're with the Jewish people. People that come here, they have connection to the Jewish communities. I said, please just tell them one thing. Tell them to please have one foot in Israel right now. That's what I tell them. At least have one foot in Israel. But what's holding them back? Is it because they don't really understand the time that we're in right now?
I would, with your permission, Jeremy, I think there's a couple different factors. One is giving them the benefit of the doubt, and that is the ideological, theological perversion and distortion that happened over 2,000 years, which is Judaism in the exile. We're not a religion. We're not meant to be in the exile, and it creates all of these perversions in our minds that are not I'm not pointing blame to anyone that has them in their heads, but it's the consequence of a fish being out of water. And one of those things is the very non-Jewish idea that we're supposed to sit back and await the rapture. Okay, I'm not talking about like the Christian rapture, but when Messiah comes, then all of these eagles are going to come and pick us up.
You're saying Judaism believes in a rapture too?
A type of rapture.
Be careful, people clip things on YouTube.
Yeah, no, a type of rapture in the sense that we will be brought back to the land of Israel on the wings of eagles, right? And why did the prophet say that? Because he saw in his vision that there were these things in the sky that looked like birds, but they were all planes.
That's right.
Right? And so he says the wings of eagles. And so these Jews in the exile are like, well, I'm just going to sit back passively and pray and wait for God to do the whole thing. That's not what Judaism is. No, we are like Nachshon ben Aminadav. We have to do everything in our power to serve God, to fulfill his will in the world, everything we can. And then when we give it our all to the point of no return, then God just does the entire thing. Right? But we need to give our all. That's one thing. And the other thing is they're comfortable and they're scared. They're comfortable with their mansions and their homes.
But the question is how could you be comfortable as a Jew in New York City right now?
Because you just stay like this. You stay like this in your one city block and think about your very myopic personal life, and you don't think about what's happening 2 blocks over. 2 blocks. Oh, that's 2 blocks over. You know, there's and it's a very human thing. But they don't. You know, when Ezra and Nehemiah, when the Jews came back, it is recorded in the Bible, right? It says 42,360 Jews returned. 7,337 of them were servants, 200 singers. Why does it have to say the exact number?
Didn't it also talk about how many donkeys and camels and stuff too?
There was
Right? It's like, what is that in the number for?
Yeah, Jeremy's actually really like quite an expert on that book. But the idea, why did it have to be so specific? Because there is a book being written right now.
Yeah.
And every single Jew matters.
That's right.
Every single Jew. And we're like, it doesn't really matter what I do. It's all going to just happen. No. How are you going to be recorded? Are you going to be recorded as that remnant that followed God, or those that stayed in Babylonia and just talked about things a lot? You know, I'm getting in trouble for this. I know it. I feel it.
Hey, but you know what? We're in really decisive times right now. There is an axis of evil and there is an axis of good being formed right now, literally down this line, literally on this topic, a Jewish state versus an evil terrorist state. And it's like the whole world is being aligned on this axis. Isn't that crazy? That we're living in a time that this axis is what actually defines the whole world. Every single person is making their decision.
Can I tell you something that happened when I'm meeting a lot of these people, some people I've met here, and there's this theme that is reemerging that many people are telling me, I know a guy, or we're setting up an entire warehouse that we're going to be putting beds on the ground that we can protect Jews when they're fleeing in America. They're doing this throughout America. Jews don't have any idea that this is happening, but this like righteous remnant see the writing on the wall. They see what's happening. They're actually making moves to defend and protect Jews in America, and Jews in America just have no idea. It's totally like.
But the question I guess all of this raises is where is America? We're talking about Iran. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and this new alignment that's happening. But Jeremy, where do you feel like it feels like we're stumbling right now into a potential player on the axis of the evil side? If we're pushing...
You're talking about America or Saudi Arabia?
America. Well, I'm saying the fact that this is no longer Jerusalem-led. We were talking about Abraham Accords in Jerusalem-led. They were going to be the hold of the power was going to be led from Jerusalem over this Middle East. Today, it's fractured.
Well, I'll tell you, America is a Western country based on biblical values. It's a Christian country, and Christianity in the Western world are torn between these two poles. One is Judea and one is Rome. And when it was talking about the Abraham Accords, well, that's obviously much closer to Judea. When they talk about major non-NATO allies, I mean, they're aligning a little bit more with Europe. And when you look at what's happened right now, first they said, all right, we're going to give you F-35 fighter jets, but you have to join the Abraham Accords. You have to normalize relationships with Israel. And they're like, no, we don't want to normalize relationships with Israel until Israel builds a terrorist state in the heart of their country. And they're like, well, we'll give you the planes anyway. And he says, we're going to do this whole Gaza peace plan, but Hamas has to disarm. Hamas is like, we're not disarming. And we're like, all right, we'll rebuild Gaza anyway. And it's like, well, what's going on here? So what's happening is that Israel is being sidelined and America is aligning itself with the larger, richer Arab world because America has interests. But here's what happens. The Bible speaks about, or at least the Jewish tradition of the Bible speaks about measure for measure. That if you do the wrong thing, you will be able to see the reaction or the punishment or the outcome of that bad deed in the punishment itself. And so right now I just saw a report saying that there are 48 new mosques that have built in Texas alone in the last 2 years. It's like, all right, you want to align with Syria, you want to align with Saudi Arabia, you want to sideline Israel, you want to pull them to NATO and not pull them to Abraham. Fine. Those 48 mosques that are going to be built in Dearborn, Michigan, just wait until the rest of America is under the rule of because people, it's so funny, people say, no, Jews have dual loyalty. The people that are chanting for the Hamas raising Palestinian flags, do they think they have any loyalty to America? It's not dual loyalty. They have no loyalty to America.
Yeah, they're burning the American flag and then going to churches, buying out churches.
I was about to say that. Like you mentioned 48 mosques being built in Texas, right? Not to even mention that a lot of these mosques are actually taking over churches and the mosques are now operating inside of old churches. So the churches are just like Christianity is disappearing from America and Islam is taking
There
over.
was this new video that just came out where they were saying the first thing we will do,
Yeah,
these
no, it's
Arabic
not
people.
even like subtle. It's like
Play the video.
They're like
Right, it's right there.
yeah, in the churches with the cross and the steeple still up there, going right in and praying.
So this is what we doing. So we're praying at churches now. That's what we doing, Sheikh. Wow. Astaghfirullah. Look at the brothers lining up at the church. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. So where are we, man? We at the church? Y'all praying at the church? Y'all praying at the church? What are we doing here, man? Why have we gathered here? Okay, mashallah, we're going to convert the church into a masjid. Okay, man, y'all was scaring me for a minute. Get the khutbah, habibi, get the first khutbah. Yalla, inna alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Hey, beginning stages.
And then this other video on the same topic is talking about how they're going to get rid of the first thing we will do is to get rid of the all the American stuff. This is a cancer. It's terrible. I mean, literally, you could watch this as well. This is literally what's happening in America as we speak.
Say that we want to have revival of the deen. It means we want to bring the deen back as a practical implementation in society. If Islam was here as a system, as a way of life, there would be an army that would defend these Muslims. America, the American government, secularism, democracy, capitalism, these are cancers. Non-Muslims are tired of this cancer. They're tired of the American government. They're tired of democracy. They want to see a new way of life.
First move that I will do, I will abolish the Constitution and I will establish the only logical and rational Constitution, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Can I tell you the greatest irony of this? I can't help but to think of our good friend Tucker Carlson. And all of these people are like, APEC. The APEC is twisting. APEC is like such a little small potatoes nothing. Maybe like, $50 million compared to $5 billion of influence coming in from Qatar all over America. They say, Jews aren't loyal. The Jews have dual loyalty. Do you know why Jews are all voting Democrat? Because they want to prove that they're not Israel first and the Republicans are more pro-Israel. And here we are hearing literally what they're accusing the Jews of is what Islam and the jihad is doing, and they're obfuscating that with the smoke screen and pointing at Israel and the Jewish people.
Even a better example of that is right here where we're sitting right now. You have this whole thing playing out in front of us where the Jewish people have come back to their homeland. The settlement movement across Judea and Samaria that was started after 1967 has come back into the biblical heartland of Israel, Shiloh, Hebron, Jerusalem, Nablus, Shechem, ancient biblical Shechem, Mount of Blessing, these areas, biblical areas of Israel, without any support. They're literally coming back without financing, they're coming back like these Jews that came out of all of these crazy places around the world, literally with their, a backpack on their back coming back. And then these farms are being established. The thing that the Biden administration hated worse than anything was these farmers who had no backing whatsoever, that were just literally with their sweat of their own brow, they were going out and settling the land of Israel. On the other side of that, what's going on? What are the farmers, the Jewish farmers that are settling the land of Israel today? They're settling in mass, and thank God they're being very successful. What's on the other side of that? A multi-trillion-dollar entity that's backed by every single country in the world, including America and all the Western civilization, is backing the facts on the ground of a Palestinian so-called Arab state right in the middle of it. So what are they doing? Are they going out and farming and holding land? No, they're literally building cities that are empty. That's what we've been in these cities. You drove past hundreds of these villages that literally are from my balcony. There's no people there. They're trying to create facts on the ground without the actual people, with billions of dollars at their disposal. And yet the Jewish state, just to emphasize your point, right here on the ground, the Jews have returned with very little and are accomplishing what God promised to them would happen. They're establishing the land. In the greatest opposition you could ever dream in the world history is playing out in front of them. Every nation, all the money, all the influence, all the big names, all stacked against one farmer.
Yeah, the stage is being set right now, because what's happening is that all of these, these people, these organizations, these groups, these ideologies that we thought were real allies and friends of Israel are turning away. If there's any sort of ulterior motive that is not based on truth and morality and faith, it's being peeled away, and the ulterior motives are making it disappear. And here we are, this little tiny Jewish state, overwhelmingly outnumbered, and it just reminds me of the story of Gideon, where God sends home tens of thousands of Jewish soldiers. So all we have is 300 against the entire Assyrian army. Why? He says, because otherwise, if you have too many soldiers, you're going to think it is my own strength and the power of my hand that did this. And so the coming war that we are going to be having is going to seem like Israel has no chance. Imagine that after October 7th, they were actually able to coordinate together, where Iran,
I literally just saw right now they're doing that. The coordination, it just,
they're getting back on the same
just
page.
Came out right now.
Who?
That Iran, Lebanon, and Gaza are coordinating together much better. They literally just before we jumped on the show, I saw this that would just popped out. They're coordinated. They're in sync. They're planning together on the next attack.
That's why I felt like the one biggest mistake in the entirety of the last 3 years, possibly in Jewish history since biblical times, when Saul was at war with Amalek and Agag, is when Israel was sent in those final 12 fighter jets going towards the Ayatollah to finish them off. And then Trump says, no, Israel, turn around and go home. And we listened. Well, if we had done that then, because what happened when Israel attacked and America attacked, the whole world was reeling. Russia wasn't ready. China wasn't ready. They didn't know what to do. They weren't on the same page. And the minute we turned back, I said, they're going to be ready next time. Next time they're going to be ready. And right now the whole world is aligning and ready, and they're tasting it. They're salivating. They're getting on the same page, and they say Israel will not have a chance. And
no wonder Saudi Arabia is having trouble making up their mind.
We'll get back to the podcast in a second, but I wanted to tell you guys about an amazing new film documentary project that the Israel guys have been working on for a long time now. It's a cutting-edge, exclusive documentary about Iran and the 12-day war that Israel and the U.S. had with Iran this past summer. It's going to be premiering live on the Israel Guys channel this Sunday, November 23rd at 8 p.m. Israel time. That's noon Central Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys can figure out the rest of the time zones, but you don't want to miss it. Our team is going to be live in the comment section interacting with you. You can ask us questions, but right now, let's take a look at the trailer.
Iran's total commitment to the annihilation of Israel and America knew no logical bounds. A fervent, religious, holy war, a campaign to destroy the state of Israel and the United States of America, wiping both countries from off the map. For years, Tehran had pushed the limits, enriching uranium in defiance of the entire free world. A network of terrorist proxies stretching across the Middle East, a ring of fire surrounding the Jewish state. The largest missile attack in Israel's history had begun. The people of Israel have returned to their land just as the prophets foretold. Jerusalem has been rebuilt, the Hebrew language has been revived, and the Jewish people have flourished despite facing the greatest persecution in human history.
Where we're at with the Abraham Accords, and the question kind of remains is like, is the Abraham Accords an actual real thing? Can it create more good for the world in the Middle East? Because right now you have, I like the way you put it, Josh, at the beginning. You said the Abraham Accords originated, they were led by Jerusalem. They were led by Israel, along with the United States, and countries were joining in. They were joining themselves to Abraham. Right now, Saudi Arabia leaves the White House this week. And what happens? Saudi Arabia is now an ally of the U.S. They're about to receive F-35s, the only other country in the Middle East to get F-35s, except for Israel. And what in return? Nothing. Saudi Arabia is now investing. I think they've already invested almost $600 billion in the U.S. and they've pledged up like $1 trillion. But it doesn't depend on Jerusalem anymore. There's no recognition of Israel and a normalization. Who even knows about the Palestinian state issue? whether it will be or not. Trump's already said that not only will Saudi Arabia be a non-NATO major ally, but now he's saying, what's the prime minister's name? MBS. Mohammed bin Salman. He said he could he could join the committee that's going to govern Gaza.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
Yeah. Along with some, Turkey, of course, they need to be a part of that too, according to Trump.
Yeah, because Trump loves the Turkish prime minister. He loves the Syrian prime minister. So here's what I see it as. You have the axis of good. You have the axis of evil. Obviously, the Abraham Accords was started to counter the axis of evil, which is Iran and all of their proxies, Turkey, Lebanon, Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, Syria, right? And that's what the Abraham Accords was started as. You had countries join in, UAE, Bahrain, right? And then you have these countries like Qatar, who wants to be in both axes. They have like a foot in both axes. Like, they're very obviously part of the axis of evil because they hosted Hamas for years and years and years, the leaders of Hamas in their country.
Funded Hamas.
But they also, funded them. They also run, like state-funded TV for Al Jazeera, which is just, we go on and on. But they have money. And so Trump kind of respects them, and he wants, he wants that $400 million plane. And so they kind of also have their foot in this other axis, right? And then you have Saudi Arabia, who's like teetering on both sides. And unfortunately, we hate to say it, but like, where's the U.S. at on this issue as well? Like, they're also beginning to teeter.
Now, imagine what's going to happen next president. I mean, we were hoping so much for it to be a Republican. I'm not so sure at this point. Who knows what's going to happen to the Republican Party now?
Exactly on that note, this is why they're winning. All it takes for evil to exist is for good men to do nothing, right? What we have right now is a splintered people, even people watching right now. Do you consider yourself a Zionist?
Well, even that word is like triggering. They're like people like, I hate that word. I don't want to be, can we pick a different word, please?
Well, that's a problem, because even our team,
what does Zionism mean?
Yeah, well, they go, I don't know if I'm an actual Zionist, because the enemy has so infiltrated the whole education, language. It all comes from an anti-Israel thing. I did this test actually with the group that was here. I asked them, are you a Zionist? And everybody's like, because there's no training on this. Our team is so splintered. The belief in Zion is so splintered. And this is where it really boils down to. And I said, listen, guys, I'm just about to convert every one of you. I said, what does Zechariah say? It says, God is greatly, fervently zealous over Zion. Where are you at? A Zionist, and I told him this, I was like, I don't even know if this works, but if you're a pianist, that means like you are like really all about that thing. You really know that piano because you're like you're a pianist, right? You really know that thing. Anybody here Zionist? Because God is a Zionist, the greatly, fervently zealous. I don't know why he says greatly, fervently in the English anyway. I don't know what it says in Hebrew, but he's like super over the top about Zion. This is the whole thing. So the world and the people, the believers in God around the world are confused. Jews, Christians, anybody that's in this space is a little bit confused about whether they really want to be a part of the Zion thing or not. Do I really want to be a part of the Zionism, or do I want to be individually? Do I want to make the decision to be a Zionist? And because we're questioning it, we're being completely run over. And so if there's anybody out there listening, I hope that just this little talk here, next time you talk to somebody, you are a Zionist. God help you if you're not. If you believe in God and don't want to be what God declares himself as.
Well, number one, can you be pro-Israel and not be a Zionist?
It's impossible.
Should we just define the word Zionist?
Number two, can you be a believer in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and not be a Zionist?
So define the word, Luke.
Zionism, and you can add to this or correct me if I'm wrong, is like the settlement and the development for the Jewish people to live in the land of Israel.
It's the action. It's the action point. It's like what the prophets foretold would happen and the people that are doing it. And so here's the question, Arias. Everybody goes, well, okay, I believe in God, but not with the Jewish stuff. Like the modern Jewish state, that's not God.
I was going to say,
help you. you don't think that all the prophets prophesy that the Jewish people would return just to be some
Do you mean like
farce?
bless you? Like bless your heart? Is that what you're trying to say?
Like bless your heart.
Because I'll tell you what, the Jews of America right now, in their extreme amounts of money put into advocacy, are reeling backwards because I have my ear to the ground more than it should be. And everybody and their brother and sister are all going back to the Bible and saying the nation of Israel today is not the ancient nation of Israel, and that they're not the chosen people, and they're all going back to the Bible. And like every podcast, everyone all of a sudden are biblical scholars and Bible believers, and it's now in vogue to talk about the Bible. And the Jews are like, that's super out of my comfort zone to talk about the Bible. And we're being begged to do so. We need to do so.
That's
And
right.
we need to be able to answer those questions and to shine that light.
That's
They're
right.
begging us to do it.
Well, see, on one hand, it's like we're being divided into two worlds. On one hand, on a national level, on an international level, as a country, Israel really needs to stand alone. It needs to be independent. That is our destiny. That will be our blessing. In fact, there's an ancient prophecy that always talks about this. This is from Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. And this was talking about the superpower of that time. And it says, look, you are trusting in Egypt, that broken reed of a staff, which will pierce the hand of any man who leans on it. Such as Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all who trust in him. And like right now, we're looking, who is the new Pharaoh? Who is the new Egypt? It's the United States. They're the rulers of the world right now. And right now, the Bible's saying, like, don't lean on who you think is powerful at this time, because right now it may be a pro-Israel president. Next week, it may be a non-pro-Israel president. You need to be independent and trust on me. And at the same time, on an international level, when we need to be isolated and we need to be alone, at the same time, we have to bring the Torah to the world. We have to bring the Bible to the nations, because only that will be a magnet to bring the righteous among the nations to align with us. If we keep the Torah to ourselves, or we stay ignorant of the Bible, it's now is the time more than ever that Israel needs to shine a light to not the countries of the world, but to the nations, the peoples of the world.
So, but my big question is, now that this axis that we've talked about here, where do you see us, Jeremy? Are the nations going to align themselves with good, with the Jewish people, with the modern return that was more prophesied and more? If you just, you got to be blind if you can't see that this is the move of God. This is impossible. It's never happened with any other people group in the entire planet. It's an absolute move beyond that of even splitting the Red Sea. This return, people are blind to it, but if they don't see that this is God and join it, join the axis of good and join the axis of evil, what are we looking at here? I mean, this is the line in the sand. It's like the moment of decision where you stand. What happens to people if they don't make the right choice here?
Well, I'll tell you what Ari and I have come to, and we've dedicated our lives to it, and it's expressed itself in the Land of Israel Fellowship. It said the nations, they're going to turn against Israel. That's the destiny. Israel will stand alone in order to be that great light that proves God's sovereignty over the world, as all the nations convene and all they scheme and they align themselves in F-35 fighters, and who knows what's going to be. Israel's going to be left alone. But at the same time, 10 men from every language of the nations, small pockets of the righteous among the nations. That could be hundreds of thousands, millions of people in a world of billions. They're going to be the righteous that stand with Israel, but those people have to be knowledgeable in the Bible. And you're going to see that all these influencers are going to start encouraging people to not even read their Bible. Just trust. Don't even look at it. Because once you open up the Torah, once you open up the prophets of Israel, all they talk about is Israel. It's all that is the center stage. That is the theater of redemption. And the people that take the Bible seriously, that take the Torah seriously, that take God seriously, they are going to align with Israel. And then that will be a new army that's formed. And that army is going to liberate the world.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing up the fellowship, Jeremy, because that is a perfect example to me in my mind. We started originally in order to teach about the Bible and the Torah portion and connect the dots to what's happening in the world. But now it's like such a source of comfort and strength. It's like a family. It's a family. We pray for each other. We pray with each other. And I'm like, what's happening? Maybe we're not coming together in order to fight this darkness in the world. Maybe the darkness in the world is rising in order to bring us together.
Yeah.
Maybe the purpose is actually what's happening right here, because the most beautiful light is not shining just from Jews in Judea, but from the righteous of the nations, that righteous remnant that is attaching themselves to the house of Israel, standing with the Jewish people. And there's just such a brilliant, illuminating light coming out. And that's why the nations are raging, because it's challenging their control.
Well, I really want to just give props to this podcast, because here we are, Jews from Judea, and here you are in the heart of Samaria. And that's really what's on the chopping block right now.
That's right.
That is the cutting edge. That is where the fate of the entire world is going to be defined. And here we are broadcasting the light and the truth from this place.
That's right.
It's beautiful.
Well, in order to be a Zionist, you better stay tuned, because all hell's breaking loose. And without some grasp of what's actually happening here, boots on the ground, well, boy, it's going to be hard to stand.
I'm glad y'all mentioned the fellowship too, because I don't think we've plugged it in a little while. And for people that love Jeremy and Ari in the land of Israel, like that's the best way to be a part of what you guys are doing, is the fellowship that meets every week, right?
Every week, every
so
Sunday.
we'll put a link down in the description below, guys. You can join.
You come most of the time, right?
Yeah,
What's it
it's
like
fantastic.
for you?
Well, just hearing Jewish rabbis that are connected to the land of Israel is something new. The world hasn't known this before. Jews living in Judea, teaching the words of David. I mean, from the literal pastures of David. You really can't ask for more deeper biblical insight. So really hats off to you guys for opening the platform to be able to teach people real truth from the land, from the ground. I mean, Ari, you're first generation farmer. Here you are. You're literally, so much of the book is just about so many leaders of Israel out shepherding their sheep, like you do every now and then, or out
Chicken
feeding
farmer,
your
right?
chickens.
Well, I guess I just asked you, embarrassingly, as a chicken farmer in Judea, I was like, can you help me decide who are the roosters and who are the chickens? Because I'm not getting any eggs because I have too many
As a
roosters.
sixth generation farmer, that is hilarious.
It's hilarious,
but,
and it's embarrassing, but it's part of the awakening process we're going through. But I want you to know, I had a group of Jews, and I quoted you to them yesterday, and it made them cry.
Okay.
It made them cry because I said, there's some Christian groups come and they're very well intentioned and they want to do good things, and like, here's our agenda vis-a-vis Israel. I want, someone came to me and said, I'm praying for you, Ari, to get the scales removed from your eyes. That I would see their truth. And I was like, it's so unbelievable. That's also my prayer, for the scales to be removed from my eyes. But if I'm praying for the scales to be removed from my eyes and you're praying who's going to remove the scales from your eyes? We're all coming together in order to love each other and learn together. And I say that you guys are so unique because you're always saying, what can we do for you? We don't have an agenda of like what we want to accomplish here. We're listening to you because we love you. What do you need? And you said something that really had an impact on me. You said, our job right now is to say to the entire world that if you want to come for the Jewish people, you're going to have to come through us. Mm. And when I said that, I saw a physical reaction from the Jews, like, really? We're not totally on our own? There are people that are not just allies that may just turn over next week, but that are standing with us to the death? What is this about?
Well, actually, Jeremy and I had the great opportunity of speaking at the foreign ministry in Jerusalem. And to a group of people that were from all outside of Israel. They were all these reporters and people, and we shared a stage together. And I spoke that there, and I felt very passionate about that statement, that what if the nations actually truly woke up? What if those Zionists from abroad understood our role? We have a role to play. We're not Jews. We're not living, in the land of Israel as our land or connected. There's a physical prophecy that we've spoken about on the show today that the Jewish people must fulfill. You must come home to the land of Israel. You must settle this God-given land that Abraham promised you. And for the nations, what's our job? To stand with you, to support you, to be that wall of defense around you, to literally put the Jewish people on our shoulders when time calls for it and carry them home to the land in order to protect them. That's the role of the nations, is to be the safeguard of the Jewish people. There's no other blessing for the nations outside of that. That's the role of the nations, is to defend, protect, and bless the Jewish nation. So all of those Zionists, I think we've converted a few Zionists today on the show. If you're a Zionist, go ahead and just type in the show notes below here that, I'm a Zionist. Just let us know, because the world needs to know you're there. That's so important. not only the world, but like you said, the Jewish people need to know they're there as well.
Yeah, and it's funny though when you say, you got to come through us. I have to admit, and maybe it's as a Judean, I say when there's people that go after you guys, which happens a lot, there is little that will kindle my wrath and get me angrier than that. And I would literally die for you guys. And it's like, well, no, but you're here to die for us. No, we're here to die for you. You're here to serve us.
You got a great story about that.
The truth is, the truth is that you really are. I would agree that you are here to serve us. But let me just say this, because I know that's going to be cut. And now, he thinks that no, because I hear all these talking faces.
That's not going to be cut because that's what we're here for.
No, but here's the thing. I hear all these talking heads.
Our website is named Serve Israel. So you got it right.
I know, but it sounds weird when a Jew's like, yes, you are here to serve me. No, but I want to make this point very clear. When I hear all of these people coming in saying, the Jews, they think they're better than us. They're the chosen people. No. Yeah, we are the chosen people, but chosen for what?
That's right.
It's a very simple, clear explanation. When in the temple times, even till today, there was the children of Aaron, and they were the priests in the temple. And when all of the tribes went up to the temple, the priest would bless them. They would bless and so we are a nation of priests. What the priests are to us, who their mission is to bless us, we are a nation of priests to the world. Our mission, our job, our purpose in the world is to bless the world, to serve humanity. So you're serving us in order to bring us back, wake us up, strengthen us, comfort us, give us the strength that we need to return to our own identity and then to serve you. And that's really our ultimate purpose, is to be servants of all of humanity. That's what we're chosen for.
But imagine how beautiful that is. If the Jews are the priests and then the righteous among the nations are the macro Israel, that means that very soon there's going to be a new people. There's going to be a new movement that involves the Jews and the righteous among the nations, and all of them will be God's people. And that's how you can understand Zechariah chapter 2, where it says, and they will become my people, these righteous among the nations that align themselves with Israel and the Jewish people. We're not going to be huge. I don't think it's going to be the billions against the billions. It's specifically going to be the righteous among the nations with the people of Israel. And it's not going to be a Jewish thing, and it's not going to be a Christian thing. It's going to be a God thing.
I have to just say one thing, and this is something only a Jew can say, because it's just yet another bashing of diaspora exile Judaism. Not Jewry, but Judaism. And that is when you go to these massive communities of Borough Park and Lakewood and these communities in the diaspora and the exile where they are super ultra Orthodox and very much just in their own world. They don't want to think about the nations. They don't want to think about anyone else. They're just doing their thing. They're totally missing the whole picture. You know, the Fiddler on the Roof, when he says, God bless the Tsar and keep him very far away from us. No, we're not here to be insular and myopic in our little world. We're here in order to bless the world. Our very existence is only justified because of yours. Right? We're here to be, to channel God's light and blessing to the nations of the world. And so without the nations, we actually have no purpose and no function.
Wow. I think we've inspired some folks to be a part of this Jewish story. It's a Jewish story that encompasses the whole planet. Isn't that amazing?
I think it's a global story. And like Ari was saying, it's reciprocal, right? It's
their role.
If you're a Zionist, a biblical Zionist, and you're blessing Israel and serving Israel, like what part of our mission is, then that is reciprocal, because the Torah literally says, then the light and the truth and the Torah will come out of Zion to the rest of the world. It's God's story of redemption. It's how he brings physical and spiritual blessing to the entire world. But it's a choice. You have to make that choice. Are you a Zionist or are you not?
Yeah, it's a global thing. It's all of humanity, and each nation has its role. Each role has its purpose, but only together can we actually have a brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God. That's really the ultimate purpose. So maybe an older brother, a younger brother, but that's really the ultimate purpose here, is that we're here to teach the world that all of us are actually a part of the same family. We all come from Adam and Eve. We all come from Noah and his family. The Torah teaches those stories in order to teach us how to see each other as one extended family. And this sifting process where people are turning against Israel and aligning with other nations, it's just bringing God's people together.
It's fascinating that what's doing this across the world and creating these intense situations that are driving this unity to happen. Ari, just before we jumped on the show, was talking about how bleak the world looks.
I didn't say bleak. I said what I think is happening, but that's not bleak.
It's just what's happening.
A challenging situation.
Prophetic words of the prophets coming about in our day. Which,
the night is darkest before dawn.
But it's like that thing that's happening is driving what you just described, Jeremy. It's like these people. It's a hard times that bring the best out of people, and that's honestly just what the world has shown us. The history of Israel has shown us these tense times. Well, you can expect some really good that's coming.
Biblical destiny is going to unfold one way or another, either through fishers or through hunters in America. And among the nations, it's the same process. We are going to become who God created us to be one way or another.
I feel like we're living in the biblical story. Do you feel like that?
Absolutely.
Like right now is so intense and so biblical all at the same time. I'm so inspired, yet all of the crazy things we talked about today seem a little daunting and a little depressing, but at the same time is so incredibly exciting to see God on the move.
Well, that's why it's just so important to know, like, the Bible is God's revelation to the world, and it came to us in the form of a story. It wasn't just laws, and it wasn't just words of wisdom. It wasn't just poetry in the book of Psalms. And the reason why the Bible is a story is because the story isn't finished yet. We are living out the story in our generation. Just the prophet hasn't come to write down the chapters yet, but we are the next chapter of the biblical story and biblical destiny of Israel that's unfolding right now.
You guys are. Yeah, well, I think about me and Jeremy. Maybe if we're lucky and we do well enough, there's some obscure commentator that may mention us. You guys are in the actual text of the verses. Really, you're like truly. I'm really honored to be friends with you guys, to call you my friends.
Well, we wouldn't be here without you guys inviting us, but I would literally consider our position in this thing as kind of like an Ittai or one of these guys that joined King David to be a strength to Israel in time of Israel's coming back, and that's literally what we saw in history. And hopefully we'll have some people more than 300, as you mentioned earlier.
That's right.
Of all the nations.
You have some Ittais in your clan here, right?
Actual. Yeah, my brother named one of his
who's
it? Yeah. No, not one of mine, but yeah, a nephew.
A nephew,
basically.
Yes. Well, that narrows it down.
Right?
I understand that. By the way, Mazel Tov.
Yeah,
Mazel Tov. That's number 50.
Niece was born.
Right, number 52.
Yes, that's insane.
Right.
Wow, you know better than I do.
Yeah, 52. That's
some people don't know that Luke and I are actually brother-in-law, so that should be cleared up, and that we have this massive family.
Nephews and nieces.
We share a whole lot of nephews and nieces.
I want to read just to wrap up because we're running out of time. I want to read just a couple of quotes. Kind of bringing it back to the beginning of the show about the Abraham Accords. And this is from Rabbi Stephen Pruzansky. I think it was in Arut Sheva. I'll just pull a couple of these quotes out. He says, Trump is a secular materialist. The secular materialist mind cannot understand the suicide bomber or even today's Gazans, among whom, once again, Hamas has majority support despite the devastation wreaked upon them. The secular materialist mind cannot fathom how and why restaurants are springing up across the Arab world, including in Jordan, a country with whom we're at peace, called October 7th, in celebration of the great massacre of Jews that took place on that day. The secular materialist mind simply does not comprehend the hold of religion in the Middle East and how it can produce such virulent ideas and actions. I thought this was interesting because it feels like the Abraham Accords started based on Jerusalem and the Bible and the God of Abraham. And it feels like where the Abraham Accords are going with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia right now is the exact opposite of that, based on a secular materialistic viewpoint, because now you have the U.S. selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is investing like $1 trillion in the U.S. And it's very obvious that Trump is very swayed by money, $400 million plane from Qatar and $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia. So it feels like the Abraham Accords, which started on a very biblical worldview, is shifting away from that to a secular materialistic worldview. And the question is, I don't think it can continue to be the Abraham Accords if that continues to play out.
That's right. Full agreement on that.
So we leave with the question of, is this the end of the Abraham Accords? But like we said, I think the end of the story and the very positive note is that if you're a Zionist, if you're a Jewish Zionist, then you should be coming back to the land of Israel. And I'm saying that as a non-Jewish Zionist sitting here on the Mount of Blessing. I invite you guys to come back to the land of Israel. If you're not a Jew, if you're a non-Jewish Zionist, then I know there's a lot of questions. Last podcast a couple of weeks ago, we talked at length about this. Is like, what do the non-Jews do that stand with Israel because like they feel like there's nowhere for them to go? the answer, which obviously we don't have a full answer to that, is just continue to stand. Not just stand with Israel and the Jewish people, but stand with the God of Israel. That's the place where you are safe, whether physically safe or just safe in the sense that God has a plan for you. And the scriptures are very clear that the end of the story is very good for those who stand with God's kingdom, which ultimately is Jerusalem spreading light to the entire world. And that's where you've got to stand. Physically, we got to see how and where that's going to play out and what will be the end of the story. But hang on. And at the moment, you just got to stand firm in your Zionism. Guys, we mentioned the Land of Israel Fellowship. We'll put a link in the description below. If there's one thing here at the Israel Guys that we could tell you guys to be a part of, besides the Israel Guys, that is the Land of Israel Fellowship. I think it's like, $25 or something like that a month to join. So it's super easy, guys. This is a cause you should not only be supporting, but it's a movement that you will gain 10 times more back from your investment. So we'll put that link to join down in the description below. You guys should join. It's like this podcast next level.
Yeah,
right?
Usually we're on the tip of the Judean settlement in Judea. The world is against us. And it would make sense that a light would shine from these mountains of Judea to the world. But it also, first of all, it's 24.
Not $24.99.
No, it's $24 a month. No, but really, it really helps to sustain us and to support us. And if anyone ever, I don't think it's happened, but if anyone ever is like, oh, this is not for me, then just leave. There's no like commitment or anything. It's just it's a tremendous blessing. We don't really talk about it that often, but it's really, for me, it's such a source of light in my life that it's only right to share it and to invite.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Well, make sure you're following along. Make sure you're subscribed. Like Josh said, if you are a committed Zionist, then put it in the comment section. If you're not afraid to publicly, declare your support, make sure you subscribe to the channel and let us know if you are a subscriber. We'd love to hear from you guys. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what's happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back soon at the Israel Guys.